Whoosh. My radioactive watch. Yeah, I got a Luminox. Kind of a birthday present. I was looking at this prior to my birthday, and I pretty much knew that I wanted it. And then my birthday came up, and my wife helped pay for it. We don't usually spend more than about $100 on each other for birthday presents, and this was quite a bit more than that. It is an expensive watch that doesn't look like an expensive watch. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, she helped pay for it. She knew I wanted it, so she said, go get your radioactive watch. And yeah, that's the main reason I wanted this watch. These watches are known for a few things. They're very lightweight. This one's made out of like a fiberglass reinforced carbon. Some of the higher end ones are titanium. So they're extremely lightweight, almost to their detriment. That for an expensive watch, they feel like a cheap toy. But they are Swiss made, and they're worn by a lot of operators. That's the other thing that they're known for. Navy SEALs. The website advertises F-117 stealth fighter pilots and police officers and all kinds of different military branches that wear these watches. And I mean, obviously that's true to some degree. I'm sure there are some Navy SEALs. I know there are some Navy SEALs and police officers that wear these watches. But honestly, if I had to go to war, or if I was a police officer and I thought I might be getting into fights, it might be getting knocked off of cement, I wouldn't be wearing this thing. I'd be wearing a $50 G-Shock 5600E. I know for a fact that watch will take more of a beating than this will. I've heard, stories with these. If they get smacked hard enough off something, the glass Tritium vials can pop out, and that could get stuck under the hands or something. So there's no way this thing's as durable as a G-Shock. That's not to say it's not durable. It's actually 200 meter water resistant, which is insane because it looks like cheap plastic. It's very lightweight. It doesn't have a screw down crown. The first time I got it in my hands, I actually thought it was broken because 200 meter water resistance to me has always meant that it has a screw down crown, and this doesn't have a screw down crown, but somehow maintains that 200 meter water resistance. The specs on this watch are kind of scarce on the website. I believe it's 42 millimeters in diameter, case size, and I think it's about 22 millimeters, although they're almost like 22 and a half. You could probably cram a 23 millimeter strap in there. So they don't advertise the band width, which is unusual on a watch's website. The strap it comes on is very nice. It's very thick. I mean, it's just a rubber, nylon or whatever it is, but it's very thick. It's got the buckle looks like it's, I don't know if it's machined. You can see the grain in the steel. It looks like a high quality piece. There's little notches on the strap that hold the keeper in place. Can't say I've ever seen that before. It's a very simple idea, and it works great. Again, even on the back, it's plastic. I shouldn't say plastic. Again, it's some sort of a special fiberglass reinforced carbon. But again, it looks cheap. But it's not. Certainly not a cheap watch. Obviously, the main attraction for me is the lume. It's tritium, glass vials on the hours and on the hands. And tritium is a radioactive material. It's got a half-life of about 25 years, meaning that it should glow for about 25 years. Now, it will get weaker and weaker, so how much of that is actually usable, I don't know. Maybe 10 years, maybe 15. Eventually, though, it will lose its illumination, get to the point where it's just not bright enough to see it anymore. When it comes to the lume, you've got to temper your expectations. I knew that going in. I've heard that these are not as bright as the normal luminance material on most watches. Now, most watches, you got to remember, they only glow because they've charged from being exposed to light. And They usually glow really brightly for the first 10 or 15 minutes, and then they start to fade quite quickly. I've got this side by side with one of my Seiko 5s that's got decent lume. And you can see I shone a very bright flashlight on the Seiko 5 to charge it up. And side by side, the Seiko is definitely a lot brighter. However, this is just 30 minutes later. After a half an hour, the camera no longer picks up the Seiko 5. It's still picking up the Tritium. Now, I've been in the dark at this point for 30 minutes. My eyes have adjusted to it. I can actually still see the Seiko fairly fine. I can easily read the Seiko, but the camera no longer picks it up. So that just goes to show you how bright, the normal luminescence on a watch will be after it's been charged, but it's only bright for a short amount of time, and after a few hours, you're probably not going to be able to read it in the dark anymore. That's where the Tritium comes in. It's a radioactive material. Its normal decay releases a little bit of energy, and that's what's giving this its light source. You could leave this in a box for 2 years, open the box in the dark, and it's going to be glowing. You don't have to charge it with light. It's always glowing day and night, 24 hours a day, for many, many years. It's hard to give an exact price on these. They're a little bit hard to find right now on Amazon.ca. They seem to be a little bit more expensive in Canada, a little bit harder to find. Generally, this is about a $200 USD for this model. There's a lot of different models of this watch. So this one is the 3050/3950. But there's lots of different combinations. There's a lot of different color variants. Again, some of them are made out of titanium. So some of them will get up there at $600 US. And I'm sure there's probably limited editions or special editions that are even more expensive than that. But they tend to start at about $200 US. So this is kind of one of the cheaper. It is one of the more common models, even in the black and orange color. This is probably, of all the Luminox watches I've ever seen, this is certainly the one I've seen the most often.